Ever heard that cannabis is a gateway drug leading to harder substances? Let's dive into that. This idea has been floated around for decades, with many believing that once you start using cannabis, it's a slippery slope to more dangerous substances. It's a myth that's been deeply ingrained in our society, but is it really true? Let's look at the facts. Numerous studies have been conducted on this very topic, and the consensus is clear. There's no concrete evidence supporting the notion that cannabis use directly leads to the use of harder drugs. In fact, the National Institute on Drug Abuse states that the majority of people who use cannabis do not go on to use other, harder substances. Now, you might be thinking, but what about those who do move on to harder drugs? Well, researchers have found that this is more likely due to factors other than the physical properties of cannabis itself. Factors like environment, personal circumstances, mental health, and genetics play a significantly larger role in determining whether an individual will progress to other substances. Consider this. In places where cannabis is legal and readily available, there hasn't been a corresponding surge in the use of harder drugs. Quite the contrary, some studies suggest that cannabis might even serve as an exit drug, helping people to reduce or eliminate their use of more harmful substances, such as opioids. It's also crucial to note that correlation does not imply causation. Just because some individuals who use harder drugs have also used cannabis, doesn't mean the cannabis is to blame. It's a bit like saying everyone who eats bread will inevitably eat cake. It's a leap that doesn't hold up under scrutiny. So no, cannabis isn't a stepping stone to harder drugs. It's time we retire this myth. Let's focus on understanding the real factors at play in substance use and abuse, and work towards informed, evidence-based conversations about cannabis. Some believe that cannabis has no medicinal value, but are they right? Let's delve into this myth and explore what science has to say about it. First up, it's important to understand that cannabis is a complex plant with over 400 chemical entities, of which more than 60 are cannabinoid compounds. Two of the most well-known and studied are THC or tetrahydrocannabinol and CBD or cannabidiol. These compounds interact with our bodies in fascinating ways, thanks to a biological system known as the endocannabinoid system. Let's talk about the benefits of THC first. It's the chemical responsible for most of marijuana's psychological effects. Yes, it's the one that gives you the high. But, did you know that THC also has medicinal properties? It's been found to be effective in relieving nausea and vomiting, particularly among cancer patients undergoing chemotherapy. Additionally, it can stimulate appetite, which can be a boon for people dealing with weight loss due to illnesses like HIV or cancer. Now, let's turn to CBD, THC's non-psychoactive cousin. CBD has been creating waves in the medical world for its potential therapeutic benefits. It's been used to treat a variety of conditions, including epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, and chronic pain. In fact, the FDA approved a CBD-based medication, Epidiolex, for treating 2 severe forms of epilepsy. Research is still ongoing, and there's much we don't know about cannabis and its potential health benefits. However, what we do know suggests that it's far from a substance without medicinal value. Instead, it could be a potent tool in our medical arsenal, able to provide relief for a range of conditions where traditional treatments may fall short. So, next time you hear someone say that cannabis has no medicinal value, remember the science we've discussed today. It's important to separate the smoke from the fire, and in this case, the myths from the facts. So it's clear that cannabis does have medicinal value. Another myth busted. Does cannabis use really lead to laziness and a lack of motivation? Let's find out. One of the most enduring myths about cannabis is that it saps your energy and leaves you lounging on the couch, munching on chips, and binge-watching reality TV. But is there any truth to this stereotype? As it turns out, not quite. First off, it's essential to remember that cannabis affects everyone differently. Some people might feel relaxed and content to chill, while others might feel energized and creative. These different reactions often depend on the strain of cannabis and the individual's unique biology. Now let's dive into some science. Several studies have been conducted to investigate the link between cannabis use and motivation. A study published in the Journal of Psychopharmacology found no significant difference in motivation levels between long-term heavy cannabis users and non-users. So, the idea that all cannabis users are lazy and unmotivated, that's not backed by science. Another piece of research published in the journal Addiction took a closer look at the relationship between cannabis use and work commitment. The study found that there was no significant difference in job commitment between those who used cannabis and those who didn't. But, like with anything, moderation is key. Overuse or misuse of cannabis can lead to dependence or other issues, which could potentially impact motivation levels. However, this isn't unique to cannabis. Overindulging in anything, whether it's food, alcohol, or Netflix, can lead to similar problems. Also, it's worth noting that some people actually use cannabis to boost their productivity. Certain strains are known for their uplifting and energizing effects, and many people find that small, controlled doses can help them focus and get more done. In conclusion, while cannabis can have relaxing effects that make you want to take it easy, it doesn't inherently lead to laziness or a lack of motivation. Any substance, when misused, can lead to negative outcomes. But when used responsibly, cannabis won't magically turn you into a couch potato. So, cannabis doesn't inherently lead to laziness or lack of motivation. That's another myth debunked. Is cannabis really more harmful than alcohol? Let's explore this. Welcome to another round of myth busting where we tackle the long-standing belief that cannabis is the bad boy on the block, especially when compared to alcohol. Well, you might want to buckle up because we're about to shatter this misconception. First off, let's talk about the health risks associated with both substances. Yes, it's undeniable that both alcohol and cannabis come with their own set of risks. However, numerous studies have shown that alcohol is associated with a significantly higher number of health risks. Long-term alcohol use can lead to a host of problems, including liver disease, heart disease, and an increased risk of certain types of cancer. On the other hand, while cannabis isn't without its risks, the overall health impact is considered much less severe. Chronic cannabis use can indeed lead to issues like bronchitis or, in rare cases, addiction. But the scale of these potential problems is nowhere near that of alcohol's risks. Furthermore, when we talk about the societal impact, the picture becomes even clearer. Alcohol is often linked to violent behavior, and according to the World Health Organization, is responsible for a staggering 3 million deaths worldwide each year. In contrast, cannabis has never been directly linked to any violent behavior, and the number of cannabis-induced fatalities remains remarkably low. Also, it's crucial to remember that the toxicity of alcohol is far greater than that of cannabis. In fact, it's technically possible to consume a fatal amount of alcohol in a single session, while the same simply can't be said for cannabis. So, while both substances should be used responsibly and with a clear understanding of their potential impacts, it's clear that the health risks associated with alcohol far outweigh those of cannabis. So it's not accurate to say that cannabis is more harmful than alcohol. We've busted another myth. This doesn't mean you should start lighting up without caution though. Remember, moderation is key in all things. We've busted some major myths about cannabis today, haven't we? Let's take a quick jog down memory lane and recap what we've learned. First up, we tackled the long-standing myth that cannabis is a gateway drug. We unearthed the fact that correlation doesn't equal causation, and that blaming cannabis for subsequent drug use is like blaming a tricycle for a future in extreme motocross. It's just not that simple. Next, we debunked the myth that cannabis has no medicinal value. With the help of science, we discovered that cannabis has a myriad of potential health benefits, from relieving chronic pain to possibly slowing the progression of Alzheimer's disease. Talk about a green thumb of health. Our third myth was the stereotype of the lazy, unmotivated cannabis user. We found that motivation and productivity are complex, multifaceted issues that can't be distilled down to cannabis use alone. Remember, correlation does not imply causation, and there are plenty of successful people who use cannabis regularly. And finally, we dissected the claim that cannabis is more harmful than alcohol. We learned that while both substances have potential risks, the dangers of alcohol, both to individuals and society, far outweigh those associated with cannabis. A toast to understanding. In debunking these myths, we've seen that understanding cannabis is not about accepting blanket statements or old wives' tales. It's about looking at the facts, examining the science, and making informed judgments. It's about breaking down stigmas and recognizing the potential benefits of this often misunderstood plant. And so, we come to the end of our myth-busting journey, but remember, this is just the beginning. There are countless myths out there waiting to be busted, and countless truths waiting to be discovered. Remember, knowledge is power. So keep questioning, keep learning, and stay informed about cannabis. Until next time.